Okay, so I got a message yesterday from the devs where they said we want to revive the tradition, what used to be a big part of Frostborn, and that is balancing the classes. You know, having that the classes be balanced. Okay, and this is exciting. Well, kind of. Actually, it created a lot of mixed feelings because if I'm being honest, I have given up on Frostborn being the game that I was wanting Frostborn to be. Okay, originally it was Last Day on Earth. I thought Last Day on Earth is going to have this amazing, mixture of PvE and PvP and all of this stuff, and it never, the technology limited them. And then Frostborn clearly has the technology, but when they came out with the timeline, they're like, hey, let's do this big competition in the timeline, and we're like, arena, 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 and they're like, hey, here are the 3 winners. None of them mention the arena. They don't mention the arena. No one even talks about the arena from the devs. There is a rumor that got started that never got confirmed that the devs were not even capable of creating an arena. It started that lack of hope in me that Frostborn was never going to be the game that I had thought it was going to become, and that was sad, and I was kind of feeling I was feeling pretty bummed about that. And over time, as these seasons, the seasons have been good. They're definitely better seasons than a lot of things, but the seasons have been very PvE focused. Okay, they've been very like, hey, we're just a co-op survival game. That's kind of our shtick, and I don't like that at all. I think, I don't not like that. I have mixed feelings about that. So I'm able to resign myself to that. Okay, Frostborn is the best game of its type, the best survival co-op game. You go to a zone, and there could easily be some guy with better gear that's going to attack you. It's much better than the VSS guy in Last Day on Earth. It's much better than the VSS guy in Last Day on Earth who, he can catch you off by surprise sometimes, but eventually you just get so good at knowing, how to defend him. With whatever gear you have, you can kind of deal with the VSS guy. But in Frostborn, it's not that way. Every time it's different. You can get attacked by someone who you start running away from, and then you realize, wait, I can take this guy, and you kill him. Other times, they attack you, and you can tell, like, I can't take this guy. I'm going to get my butt handed to me, and you're running through the mobs, and then all of a sudden you realize, wait, I can bowl this guy, and then the mobs will help me kill him. I can take him, then I get all this good stuff. Other times you can't take him, other times you get evaporated. It's just diverse. Every time it's different, and I love that. It is the best survival game out there. It's just the best out there. There's nothing that compares to Frostborn in the world of mobile gaming right now. But then they added more bots to the zones. It's harder to find people in PvP, and all of the focus has been a very just not PvP element. Again, the arena never came. And so I kind of gave up on Frostborn being that game that I thought it was going to become. I still like it. It's still the best of its kind. I've been looking around. I've been looking a lot. There's nothing out there. I mean, Albion Online has some elements of that, but it doesn't use the style as much of the Last Day on Earth style. It's much more of the MMO. It doesn't have as much of I kind of have my own thing, and then I go do the other, the group thing. It's just kind of all group stuff. And some people like that. Albion's a great game, but I really like the Last Day on Earth genre of you have your own base, you have your own personal space. I like having my own personal space, and then you accrue that wealth in that personal space. I like that, and I like that it's more than just a bank, I do think that it'd be kind of cool if they did the whole Westland thing where it was like, and not everything can be taken out of it, so you can't just get cleaned out. Like only some stuff might appear to people. But then it might be more of a guarantee. You're opening a chest, you're going to get a chunk of their loot. Honestly, I don't care. I like Frostborn the way it is in that regards, which is my whole point. There's no game out there that's as good as Frostborn in the co-op survival world, and they have all the technology and all the skills and everything that I wanted. And I just wanted them to create an arena so that we could enjoy getting good at PvP in this style. And I gave up hope. So now when this season has kind of thrown me for a loop. One, because the only place to get shards is PvP locations, which is different than the last 3 seasons. Okay, the last 3 seasons were all PvE focused, and now this season is like trying to get people to do PvP again. And I'm like, what are you doing, Frostborn? Like, what's the plan here? Are you really wanting to have a PvP element to the game, to where, or is it just a challenge to go out and like go get the shards, and you're gonna get chased, which would still be in line with Frostborn. You're gonna sometimes get a bot zone, sometimes get a real zone. It's got that diversity. I love that. I love that about Frostborn. But then I get this message that they want to balance the classes, and it really it gives me a lot of mixed feelings. And here's why. Because the only point of balancing the classes, you got the classes here. The only purpose of balancing these classes is to create good PvP, right? You've got really good team dynamics, and you want the teams to have like different diversity and all that stuff. And they did a really good balance update. And they did stuff like, the Sorcerer now has this ability to basically be a player in PvP. They did a really good balance update. They made, the Sorcerer viable for PvP. They kind of balanced things pretty well. There's a lot of more viable options, but PvP was dying at the time that they did that. But then shortly after that, people got really excited at that time, but then shortly after that is when it started to realize, wait, the arena's never going to happen. And a lot of the PvPers were like, screw this, we're gone. It's really hard to have a team. It's always been hard to have a team and keep that team going strong. And with people leaving, it was harder to find good challenge, So all that to say, PvP went downhill in Frostborn. And so now that they're wanting to revive it, there's a lot of issues that we have, right? One, they added level 4 classes, right? So that's a lot of extra work. I've wondered, did they switched it up to where each class is different? Like we requested, I can just work on Protector, which I think is still smart. But then they're like, well, but now it makes getting a level 3 class too easy. Let's bring in level 4 classes. I don't know if they're thinking, oh, that's going to motivate people for PvP. Devs, this is my issue with this. If you're going to balance the game, then you need to make it a viable option. And I don't think level 4 classes are that viable. Yes, people that are really committed. People that are really committed to the game will get those level 4 classes. And if there was a lot of PvP, I'd commit to get to level 4 class. So maybe that's not the biggest issue, but then there's runes. Runes are now super pay to win. Y'all made it very hard for free-to-play players to get runes. That you have what's the point of balancing classes unless you are wanting people to, if there's no option to really max them out, okay? That's one thing that I think is a big deal. You've got the ability for people to get 40% extra damage for someone who's really pay to win, 40% extra damage, or 40 or 75% extra health. That's going to be a huge shift to PvP, and you made that very pay to win. So that now there are ways to fix that without fixing the pay to win thing, and so that really gets into what I'm feeling, what I feel like the devs need to know about just gaming in general. Okay, so here I just have paint. So I'm gonna build a formula with you guys. Let's say fun. It's a big part of every game, right? We want fun. But this isn't the best analogy, so this is just the start, right? So if I'm having, if we're talking about an arena, or we're talking about, I'm having a lot of fun, but I need to grind. I need to go to Odin's. I need to go do Odin's to get purple gear, and that's gonna take me, 2 hours to do Odin's. And then that purple gear allows me to go into the zone and do, let's say, 15 minutes of PvP, okay? And let's say that's 3 fights, okay? So this is 3 fights of PvP. Each fight is 5 minutes long. I'm just kind of making up numbers right now. You guys know that, some fights are less than 30 seconds. Other fights feel like they last forever. But 2 hours of grinding at Odin's gets you, let's say, 3 purple sets, and that gives you 3 fights. This is kind of fun. This isn't like an excruciating grind. Odin's is kind of fun. When you've done it a million times, it gets less fun, but it's still kind of fun. You get good at the game, and so that also affects it. It's 2 hours of not that painful of a grind, whereas some things can be really painful of a grind. And so this ratio, I think, can have some elements of good. The problem is, this isn't really the ratio in Frostborn, right? In order to get that 15 minutes of fun of PvP, those 3 fights, you need to be sitting in the zones for at least an hour, right? I mean, it takes at least an hour. So now we're adding another hour of, in my opinion, very boring grind. So let's make it feel like 3 hours, okay? This is where the formula really screws up. Okay, actually, here's what we're gonna do. Where's the eraser? Eraser. Wow, this is such a small eraser. Eraser. It's still small. What? Okay, so let's go back to pen or pencil times the what do you call it? Boringness. Okay, and a unit of boring, whatever that would be. Boring. Y'all like my handwriting there? Okay, so we're gonna say two hours times the unit of boring in Odin's would be, let's say, a 0.3. Okay. And then we got 1 hour of searching in zones times a boring factor of, these are really relative numbers, but so that gives us 4. Okay, so this, 0.3, this is going to be a 0.6. So now we've got a 15 in those 3 fights time, over 4.6. Okay, this is the grind. Okay, it's a 4.6 because even though this is 1 hour and this is 2 hours, the boring factor makes it contribute way more. Okay, so now we're looking at a factor of this is 4.6 hours over. Okay, so I'd refresh the sheet. So we've got 0.25, that's 15 minutes, over 4.6 units of grind, okay? And that is the fun, or the hours times the fun ratio, okay? The boring ratio. And so now we're looking at 18.4 is the fun level, or is the rating that Frostborn has right now in these imaginary numbers. Now, let's add an arena in the same scenario. You add an arena, you click I want a match, and you can get a match within, let's say a 5-minute matching system. So you're getting 5 minutes of so you still have to do the 2 hours of Odin's times the 0.6. What did I have as the ratio? I'm really good at this. 0.3. Okay, so we got 0.3. So that's the 0.6. And now, in order to play with that same gear, okay, and this is the worst case scenario with the arena, where you lose your gear as soon as you die. Okay, and you lose every time. Okay, this is worst case scenario. We got those 3 sets of gear. So it's 5 minutes of searching, and so we've got basically a 0.5 of searching for the 0.5 of playing. Okay, and you're spending half the time searching for a fight. But that's pretty boring, right? That's like but now that's only a 1 plus a 1.6. So now we've got that same 0.25 of fun. This is the same units of fun. So that's, for 5 point. I really used to be good at math. I got a really high score and got into an engineering school because I had such good math. And look where it's all gone. So anyways, so the rating, okay, the point is it doesn't matter. The point is the rating went up a lot, right? Just by adding an arena, you've increased a lot more fun. And this is like some people are like, this is a no-brainer, right? I understand that, you give me less boring and more fun. But then there's another aspect of this ratio, right? So this is where it allows this number to get a lot bigger, right? Because PvP is pretty high fun level. Especially if you get rewards, how well they do it, all that stuff. Team PvP, in my opinion, and everyone's a little different on what we feel like is fun. So now that 15 minutes, I would say is like 8, right? You multiply it by a lot, whereas because it's a lot of fun to do PvP, and maybe everyone's a little different. Some of you like to grind. Some of you are like, no, Odin's is fun. But you could still use this number for Odin's, right? If Odin's is what you find fun in the game, which I often do, I've done it a lot that I'm not as fun, then you can just put that here, right? You've got 2 hours of fun for Odin's. You've got a fun level, and this is very relative to each player, so let's say it's a 3. And then you have to get some resources to do Odin's, at least at first. Once you do Odin's, you get like fire daggers but at least initially you got to get all the like stuff for clubs and some green weapons or spears and bandages and all that stuff. And so you've got to, let's say that's, takes you 2 hours, and depending, again, the boring's also very relative. So if you've got, if boringness is 2. So all this is, I'm getting lost in the details. The point of this, is just to point out that right now, Frostborn has a problem, especially in the area for people that like PvP. It is a lot of work to try to find PvP. And there's another factor I didn't mention, and that is the team dynamics. So right now, Moontrix doesn't really play. I mean, he plays a little bit, but he doesn't really play. Regius is gone. Nevo is gone, though he does owe me a favor. I can ask him to come back whenever I want. Who are some of the other people I've had? I mean, almost all of the legends of PvP in Frostborn have kind of moved on, and there's some new ones out there that are great, and I think that's awesome. But the problem is that once you lose this teammate, your base gets screwed up. Like, it's very hard to like reconnect, and then to make sure you coordinate your schedules and all of that. So that adds another element. Like right now, if I wanted to go do PvP, I would have to go find the teammates, and it's even easier for me than most people because I've got a lot of connections in Frostborn. And then we got to go do all of that searching and like sitting in zones. And now I will say, Giant's Treasure and Druid's fantastic. Every 2 hours we can do it. But it is a little bit hard to coordinate our schedules and to make sure we're doing that every 2 hours. And again, if one of your teammates doesn't come, then you are now at a disadvantage. This is where the arena can also help with that. Oh, this is what I wanted to tell you guys. Sorry. This is all this to say. Basically, when you look at this formula, there's so many different ways to fix this, right? This is really what I was wanting to say all along. So there's a ton of ways to fix the problem. Okay, so there's fun time. Basically, you're just adding more time. That the way to do that would be gear does not get lost as often. Okay, I don't think they should do that. They tried to do that once where you only lost one item, and it directly affected the fun level of people gaining items. So that one's not the best, but maybe there would be another way. Maybe you could add I really don't think you need to fix this, okay? Or you could make it, the only way I would say to fix this category would be to add more opportunities. But that doesn't actually fix necessarily the fun time ratio. So let's move on. I think this is the least likely one that they should fix, okay? You got fun level, which again, I don't know if you need to fix it that much. Maybe there could be some balance stuff. You could make it, that's what they're trying to do with balancing the classes. That's kind of the point of this, and that's good. But I think the bigger issue is removing the time of grind or the boring level of grind. And really the boring level, I would say. And so let's talk about grind. So I already mentioned that if they're at an arena, we would be able to find more matches faster. That removes the amount of boring time that we're searching for PvP. But there's a lot of other ways for them to do this. For example, one way to just reduce the time of grind in general is if they made an arena where there was a matchmaking system to where basically you matched up with someone your same gear level, right? There's this whole gear system in Frostborn. I'm at 537 right now. To match us by gear level, if they did that in the arena, then even if you didn't have a level 4 class, you would be able to go in and say, I want to play. You'd be able to go in and match with someone the same gear level, and that would allow you to, have a good fight. And that would allow you to have a good fight. You'd be able to have fun, and you wouldn't have to. People could start having fun without having to get to level 4. That would so drastically reduce this amount of grind. Because basically any of you, as soon as you have a full set of green weapons, could then go have fun, and there would be no need. You lose those green weapons, but there'd be no fun. There'd be no need to have to grind anymore. That would be probably the fastest way, the biggest thing that the arena could do to reduce it. Now you would want to get into that higher level, especially if they had a leaderboard, and so you would still be motivated to do that grind, but you could have fun regardless. And that also is nice, because sometimes the boring level is affected by how much we're forced to do something. If it's like, oh well, I don't have to grind to do Odin's because I could go play with green gear, but if I did go do Odin's, I could go play with blue purple gear. That makes us have the freedom, and that can help the boring level. And so it also would increase the fun level because we'd have a better match, and that's where balancing the classes. Another way of fixing the grind would be to make it to where let's say, so they want to do 4v4s, right? That's the ideal of Frostborn. Well, how about you make it to where a family can be up to 8 players, okay? So you've got, and instead of this square, can't see this, hold on. So instead of this square, let's say there's 9 of these squares, okay? And there's a shared space in the middle. Maybe it's like a clan lives together, okay? The shared space in the middle, maybe some shared boxes are in the middle so that you can keep your chest closed, but then you share some stuff in the middle. And when you get raided, you're not getting raided by 8 people. Maybe they have something where your base is separate. Maybe they do it to where they make raiding Well, I've mentioned this before. They could make it to where you could pick your base formation for each combination, and they would use the same amount of walls. That would be a lot of programming on their part, but there might be a way to do that. But if you did that, where it was like 8 players were surrounded a middle area, not only would that help with trading, which is another big thing Frostborn is hoping for, but when you go out, it would only be allowed to have 4 people in a family together. And so if you're going to go do druids and you want to have a 4-man team, it's going to be a lot easier to find 4 out of 8 that are available at that time. And that 5th guy might be like, you know what, I've done it a lot, y'all go have fun, let me know if one of you needs to log off and I can join. And, it's still going to be a lot more fun than where it's like the forced pressure of you've got to have a full team, they've all got to be on at the same time. That's just something that it was a great idea, but realistically it has caused a lot of problems, which ultimately has increased the grind. And it's a very boring grind to go find, or stressful grind, to go find other players and coordinate with their schedules. And so that would be a great way of eliminating some of this grind, would just be to make it to where it's easier to get that 4-man team. Or you just make it to where when you go, you create a party, right? You have friends and you create a party and you say, we're a party right now. And then you go do things together. And you could do that outside of your family. You could do that maybe even outside of your clan. I don't know. The sky's the limit on what they want to do. But that's another way of increasing this ratio number to something better. And there's probably a million different ways. So really what I'm hoping that the devs do is they basically take this and they look at each thing and they say, all right, guys, how do we increase the amount of time that people can have having fun? Okay, do we increase people's hit points so that a fight lasts longer? I'm not saying that might decrease the fun level, which that would not, don't do that if it's going to decrease the fun level. But what looking at those different things, how do we increase the fun level? Do we how do we make it more balanced, which is what they're doing. Really this whole mixed feelings that I'm having, let me use a different color. The whole mixed feelings that I'm having is a balance update. Okay, this is what a balance update does. Okay, it increases the fun level, but the issue with Frostborn right now is not the fun level. The issue is the amount of fun time that you get per searching for it or coordinating with teammates or grinding for gear. That's the bigger issue. So this is fixing a problem that isn't really the problem. These are the biggest problem with Frostborn. So devs, my recommendation is that you focus on this part right here. All right, I don't like that color. We're gonna do green. Devs, focus on reducing this and not this. This is great, I want this, but the reason why we pushed so hard for balance updates in the past is because there were more players that we could find, that wanted to play competitively, with all level 3 classes, which now that's already not balanced. So if you want to increase the fun level in a balance update, then you're going to be wanting level 4 classes is something that y'all need to consider. How do y'all give more options for level 4 classes? That's not the biggest one. The biggest one right now is runes. Why is it so exponential in the area of runes? I mean, like in Last Day or in League of Legends, when you do runes, it's like, yeah, you have to work for it, but eventually everyone has all the runes that they want. There's no like 5 years later, I still don't have that one rune that I want. And that's not the way y'all have set it up. Even people that spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars are not going to have the perfect rune setup in the way that y'all have it set up. So if you want to focus on you know, the fun level, which I don't think is the biggest problem in Frostborn, then focus on those. And I'm not saying don't focus on the balance update, but what y'all really need to focus on is grind times the boring to get to that. Just to clarify, this is very important to clarify. I am talking right now, I am talking exclusively about PvP, okay? This is a PvP conversation right now. I think the devs have done a absolutely, wow, that is really ugly. Okay, so this is PvP conversation. I think Frostborn is the best game out there when it comes to co-op, survival, base building, you know, even the team dynamics, building your classes. It's the best of its type. That is not what I'm pitching. What I am pitching is PvP, a balance update. It's great. It's a great tradition. But also, yeah, but basically, how are you going to affect this formula for us? We all think the arena, or not we all, a lot of us think the arena is the solution. It's so easy to fix all of this stuff with an arena. It gives us a great place to retreat to with all of our gear that we can use. But there's other ways to do it. You could add a PvP area to where you go in here and, you know, when I say, okay, let's go in here. Here's another option for you devs. When I hit enter, it says, you know, solo, friends, and then there's another option that says PvP, I like it, okay? Or something intense that basically says I'm never gonna end up in a bot zone. I'm always gonna find players. And I don't know if that would really fix the problem, because then you're gonna have there's gonna be issues with that, that's why I think the arena is the best. But there might be a way to do that, okay? And that would affect trading, which I think that y'all are okay with trading. I don't know what y'all's issue is with trading. I feel like y'all keep making things personal, like shards. Not sure what that's about. Maybe you're worried about people botting with characters and farming tons of shards and then feeding them to another character, which I guess that makes sense. So that's it, devs. I hope you guys look at this. I'm gonna obviously share it with you guys. Hopefully y'all see this ratio. I think this is what needs to be focused on. How do you remove, and I'm not really talking about Odin's right now, okay? Odin's is great. Odin's, check. X, not good, okay? Finding 4-man teams. That says teams. Can't y'all read that? All right, X, okay? That's hard. I mean, it's not, if you fix this, then maybe this wouldn't be a big issue. So this is the ratio. I would say if you can get it to where this is above a 1, when you add fun level, PvP really makes this go up. So if you can get this above a 1, you're doing great. And I realize there's a lot of relativity on what is boring and what is fun to players. So I would say that the devs, your goal should be to get this above a 1 for 90% of players, okay? At least 90% of players that play Frostborn. If you can get it above a 1, absolutely love the game, and it's gonna be amazing. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave your comments if you think that this formula that I just created with you guys is lacking somewhere, and maybe I'm missing something that would be helpful. I just made that up in this video, and so that's not something I've been thinking about for a long time, but I would actually love to develop that formula better, to be able to help game developers think through what do we need to actually change about our game to make this game better. And so that's the start of something. If you guys help me make it better, then I'll be able to share it with more devs. All right, guys, I'll see you next time.